but I will hand out these note cards in a second. And you can use different colors of pens if you want, or you can just use one color, okay? But with quadrilaterals, there's going to be multiple types of quadrilaterals that we talk about, okay? So when we have a quadrilateral, what is a quadrilateral? Mm-hmm. So it is just a four-sided shape. So I'm going to go and just make this box, and you could just put this in your notes so you have it accessed in your notes as well. And I'm just going to put quadrilateral, and it has four sides. Okay? Okay, and there's just some examples. Okay, so pay attention on what I do here. So now I'm putting a box inside. Just don't bring one. I would guess so. Yeah, just don't. Okay, now the next one that we are going to talk about, okay, is trapezoids. Okay, what makes a trapezoid is it has at least one pair of parallel sides. So I'm just going to draw some examples. Okay, and what does that little arrow mean right there? Yeah, it means that they're parallel. Okay, perfect. Now, do you see how the trapezoids is inside of the box of quadrilateral? That's because all trapezoids are quadrilaterals. Okay? Not all quadrilaterals are trapezoids, but all trapezoids are quadrilaterals. So we're going to kind of follow that with the next one. So guess what I'm going to draw? I'm going to draw another box inside. Oh, that was not a great box. Okay, but it's okay. I know the trapezoid box is really good. Huh? The boxes is important because that means everything inside. All right, so now everything inside the box of trapezoids is a trapezoid and a quadrilateral. Okay? So, next one we're going to talk about is parallelograms. Okay? This has two pairs of parallel sides. Okay? So, it can look something like this. Okay? So something like that, or this. Okay? So at least two pairs of parallel sides. Okay? And that is a parallelogram. So if I have a parallelogram, is it a trapezoid? Is it a quadrilateral? Okay. Well, if I have a shape that's just one pair of parallel sides, what is it? And a quadrilateral. So you got to make sure you remember that it's both. Okay. I'm going to go to gray. I don't have that many colors. Now, pay attention on this box because it's not going to be the whole thing. That's why I didn't give you guys the note cards. Okay. Now, I have this box right here. Okay. And before I explain this one, I need to draw the next box as well. All right. And it's just going to be black. You'll see in a second. Now I'll just now this one on the right. This is going to be rhombus. Does anyone know what a rhombus is? What makes a rhombus a rhombus? Does anyone know? Yeah. Yeah, it can be that way. What makes a rhombus is it has four congruent sides. Okay, it says four congruent sides. So this is what Adam was kind of describing, but something that kind of looks like this. Okay, I think that's what he was explaining. Just go with it. Yeah, that's what he was explaining. Okay. Yeah. Now that's a rhombus. It has four congruent sides. In the gray, I'm going to talk about rectangle. When we talk about a rectangle, all right, it has four right angles. There's more that describes a rectangle, but that's the thing that we need to focus on. And rhombuses and parallelograms and trapezoids and quadrilaterals. And you guys figured out what's in the middle, squares. Okay, and it's both four right angles and four congruent sides. Okay, do we have any questions about this? Okay, this is what I want you to write on one side of the note card. All right, you can do this horizontally, you could do it vertically, however it fits best for you. Okay, but I showed you this first before you wrote in the note card so you know what all you have to put in it. Okay, so I will give you some time to do this. But you'll be able to use this like on your homework. It can help you. And we're going to write something. Here, I'll hand this out in the front. We're going to write something on the back of them as well. Hand this to the back. Yep. Just start making this on your note card however you want. You can do different colors. Oh, I will have, because the house. Hand those back. Let me give you one for Esme. The pyramid. Well, so like a rectangle has four right angles and a rhombus has four congruent sides. Okay, a square is in the middle of both because it's both a rectangle and a rhombus. All right, but a rhombus can't be a rectangle. What did you say, Jordan? Yeah. Would any of you girls volunteer to make an extra one for the two people that are gone? I thought I gave them 5. Did you? Maybe we'll just see who finishes. Because Jordan's making one for Esme. Is she one for Trenton and? You can make yours more fancy, Maddie. Or I don't know why I called you Maddie. Madison. I'm sorry. We'll give it to Maddie.
Oh, I made a triangle.
Yeah. So okay, I'll have you. You can do that, or the nice thing on Delta Math, it actually has like one just like that. Maybe you can screenshot it and then print that out. Would that work? And we can do that after we go through this whole thing. Or maybe, yeah. Maggie, since you're going quick, would you mind making one more after this? Oh, duh. Yeah, what am I talking about?
don't even know if you're supposed to be talking.
On the next one, you don't have to worry for Maddie's. You don't have to worry about writing those other things. Just write the names.
Write the names?
Yeah, just write the names. Just the names. How has it already been 20 minutes?
Already?
Yeah. Do you mind making one more when you're done? But you don't have to worry about writing this stuff. Just write the names of them. Correct. Now, just remember the importance of this. Like, if I have a rhombus, okay, I have a shape that's 4 congruent sides. If I have a rhombus, it's also a parallelogram, a trapezoid, and a quadrilateral because it's inside of those boxes. Okay, if I have a square, it's all 6. The other 6? All right. You don't have to. You do your note card however you want. If you don't have to put those little 4 sides underneath it, or at least one pair of parallel sides. But it's important to know that. But we'll have more on the back side as well. Your note card. There'll be a lot more to write on the back, but it's going to be important stuff.
Adam, the wall's gonna break. I'm not that big. I am. I only drank 60 minutes. Yeah, I drank 2 6 donuts? That's like light work.
You don't have to worry about making Esme so fancy. Okay.
I should be like 5.
All right, I'm going to give you just 1 more minute to finish this front. Okay, just because I got to move on to the next part. All right, but some of you have this in your notes, so you can just use your notes to help, or maybe you can look at your partners. Yeah. Say that again. It's just it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So it can almost be like, it looks like a rectangle. You could just do something like that. Yeah, that would work. But just make, like, it's the parallel sides is the most important. No, you don't have to. Lauren, you don't have to write the shapes either, but if you wrote 1 or 2, if you drew 1 or 2, that's fine. Okay. Now, this next part, okay? You do not have to write everything, okay? And you guys will have access to it. But this is going to be able to tell you how to be able to identify them. Now, you can ignore the parts that are bolded because that doesn't mean anything, okay? But here are the stuff that actually represents the shape and all the bullet points, so how it can be identified, okay? And this will kind of go more with when we go more in depth with the questions, okay? So if you need to look at your neighbors, you can look at your neighbors, okay? But here's the next part. Now, I know this has a lot. Just look at your neighbors. I know this has a lot, but we talked about these defining features, okay? And the name of them. These are the specific ways that they can be identified. So if you want to flip your note card and write more of the specific ways, I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. You don't have to. But it's recommended and it would be helpful, okay, for I'd write this stuff on the back. Okay. Because sometimes you're not going to be told, so like a parallelogram, for example. Sometimes you're not going to be told it has two sets of parallel sides, but it might be like if the diagonals bisect each other, that's all it tells you. Well, then you're like, okay, if the diagonals bisect each other, then it has to be a parallelogram, therefore a trapezoid and a quadrilateral as well. That's what I recommend.
So like, can you like highlight the ones that are right?
So like some of them you already know. Like you know that at least one parallel of opposite sides are parallel for trapezoids. Okay, and you know if it's a parallelogram, rhombus, or rectangle, it's a trapezoid. So if you don't want to worry about writing anything for trapezoid, then that's fine. But it's important like to know, okay, if the opposite sides are congruent, okay, that makes it a parallelogram. The diagonals, kind of the bolded parts on the bottom, you don't have to necessarily like worry about for parallelogram and trapezoid. Okay. But those are important. Okay. This.
What does it mean by both pairs on opposite sides on a
So like if you had a parallelogram, if it didn't tell you that they were parallel, but these two sides are congruent and these two sides are congruent, then it is a parallelogram.
basically a square?
No, a square, all four sides are congruent. You could say this looks like a rectangle, but it could be like this. But there's so many different ways that these can be drawn. And then on that second one, Lauren, don't worry about writing this down. Yep, that's perfect. Thank you. Don't worry about writing the second one down, Maddie. Or not Esme. Jordan, you don't have to worry about writing this down for Esme. Thank you, you too. Why? No, why?
Can I throw it?
No.
Just like wash it out, dump it out.
Why don't you just do it later?
Because I'm thirsty now. My pants finally are letting me.
Just keep writing.
That's about 135.
Okay, at 9, I'm gonna move on. So you got like you have a little less than 3 minutes. Or not at, is that at 9? Yeah, 9.
It's how I'm gonna look at it. Bro, guys, I got rid of my left shoulder when I bench. The left shoulder? What's your bench? Bench 135. I'm not 300 pounds, Will. Get better. I can't gain weight. Doesn't matter if we're 80. I go, oh, 4 or 5.
You don't have to worry about putting anything. You just know if it has 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides, it's a square. Because the other stuff you kind of already know.
I eat pounds of food.
Yeah, you got like 1 minute. All right, you got 1 more minute to write this down. You will have access to this. Okay?
Oh, wait, were we supposed to be writing that?
You don't have to.
Oh.
Hmm? Once you do what?
Once you stop growing, you can't keep growing.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
I'm gonna another protein shake at lunch. That's gonna be at 90 grams.
That's not good for you.
No, yes it is.
No, it's not.
And then I'm gonna drink another one after my workout, so I'll have 120 just off protein. I need to get big.
Okay, I'm going to move on. All right. All right, I need you guys to listen. This is what I want you to, we're going to look at some examples together, okay, on what you guys will actually see with this. Now, for today, hey, okay, these are some examples that we're going to see. Now, you're going to be just given like, either an image, or sometimes you won't even be given an image, okay? And we have to name them. So on these ones, we have to specifically name this quadrilateral, okay? So let's look at number 1 right here, all right? Number 1, what do we know about number 1 by just looking at the image? Okay, it has 1 set of parallel lines, so it has parallel. And then it does have congruent angles as well. The opposites are congruent. Or no, they all have different hash marks. They're all different values, sorry. So, if it has 1 set of parallel lines, okay, what does that tell us? It's a trapezoid, okay? So let's go ahead and I would put trapezoid right here. Now, after that, you would have to say, like in the second word bank, you have to explain why. It has exactly 1 pair of sides that is parallel. Okay? I'm going to zoom in so we can actually see those options when we look at the next one. Oops.
Next one's a square. It's a square.
I got to zoom out just a little bit more. All right, let's look at this one. What is this going to be most specifically? Why do we say square? It's all right angles and 4 congruent sides. Okay? Okay. Now, just know this is called basic quadrilaterals, and we still have level 1, level 2, and more advanced. Okay? And then you would put all sides and all angles, so that would be D.
Oh my gosh. I remember on the test when we did like the quiz or whatever, I would like write out the entire.
That's okay. What about this one?
You know what it's about?
That's a rectangle.
Okay. If it is a rectangle, what else also is it? And a trapezoid and a quadrilateral. Okay. Why is this a rectangle?
It has 4 right angles.
Yeah. All angles measure 40 degrees. Okay. Did I say 40? Why did I say 40? I meant 90. What about this one?
That's like a rectangle.
Yep. Specifically, it's a parallelogram. Those little arrow things are meaning it's parallel. And then what makes a parallelogram? Yeah, both pairs of sides are parallel. Okay. How do we feel about this? Great? Okay. Oops. Looking at number 9. What about number 9? I'll work on zooming in. Yeah, it's a rhombus. What makes it a rhombus? 4 congruent sides. Perfect. What about this one?
That's a parallelogram.
This would be a parallelogram. Okay? All right. Now, that's basic. Then you're going to have some questions that look like this. Now, sometimes we're going to be given the image, okay? Sometimes you're not. Okay? So something that would be helpful is if you draw them. Now, let's go ahead and draw this. So, when I draw this, I don't need to be specific. I'm going to always draw it like a square. That doesn't mean it is a square, okay? But I'm going to label my corners. Okay? I need you guys to listen carefully. It doesn't. Well, I just put it in order. L, M, N, O. So it says, all right, hey, we need to listen. So stop the extra talking. It says LM is congruent to MN, which is also congruent to NO, which is also congruent to OL. Now, then it tells us that angle L is congruent to angle N, and angle M is congruent to angle O. Okay? So are angles M and N congruent? They're not. Okay, when we look at this, okay, we need to figure out what specifically, okay, this would be. Now, which one was the one we talked about where it has 4 congruent sides? A rhombus. Is it a square? No.
Well, it isn't because not all of them are 90.
Correct. They're not all 90. So can it be a rectangle? No, but do I leave my answer just like this? You need to choose all the answers. So what else should I select? Will I select parallelogram? Because if it's a rhombus, is that box inside the parallelogram box? No, it's not. Are there 4 90-degree angles? No. No. Okay? So, Charlotte made a good point. How do we know if this is a how do I know if this is a parallelogram? Okay? Well, it doesn't tell us that there's any parallel sides, but if it's a rhombus, is that rhombus box inside of our parallelogram box? Yeah, so therefore it is also a parallelogram. Okay? That's the importance of the boxes. Now, see if you can try these two on your own. And when you draw your boxes, okay, pay attention. Like if I look at this one, all right, when you do K, L, M, N, you need to kind of like go in an order, okay? So like go like clockwise when you're naming those. Okay, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. All right, and do this in your notes.
What about the sides?
It might not tell you anything about the sides.
What is the little line between tail and
Ask your partners.
what does that mean? Does that mean the parallel? So it's a parallel.
I know, but Adam, I said to keep it to yourself, so.
It has to be healthy. It's good.
I mean, 13.
It has to be.
It's so weird. Oh my gosh, I'm going to Oklahoma this weekend for like a day. I don't know why.
That's all I want.
Yeah,
My
like,
body is literally just called that.
And what?
I'm not.
No.
How is it?
Thank you for sharing.
You're so. I don't know why. I just felt like I had to share that.
I was expecting a story, but there was no. All right, since we're talking, it sounds like we're done. Okay. Now, I drew number 12. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and put my angles as well. So I have 73 here, 73 here, 107 and 107. Now, it also tells me that KL is parallel to MN. Okay. Now, is this a parallelogram? No. Is it a quadrilateral? Is it a rectangle? Rhombus? Square? Trapezoid? It is a trapezoid. Okay.
What's a parallel? What's a parallel? I didn't get that down.
Ask your partner. We talked about that multiple times. Okay, so we just select those two options. Now, 13. No.
It's a quadrilateral.
We have.
Okay, so all I'm given on this one is angles. Okay?
Quadrilateral.
Is it a parallelogram? Quadrilateral? Is it rectangle? Rhombus? Square? Trapezoid? So it's just quadrilateral. Okay? How do we feel about this? Okay? Now, you gotta make sure, listen, I need you to listen. You gotta make sure that you're learning these basic parts, okay? Because I promise you, it does get harder from here, okay? Because that's why I had you on the back write those like diagonal ones, the bisector ones, okay? Because sometimes you're just gonna be told that and you have to identify what it is. Okay, so it's important to know these basics. So do this home. I'll have you work on the homework. Now, use your note card to help you, but then try to get to the point where you can go without using your note card. Okay, because you're not going to be able to use this on the test. Okay, I'll give you the rest of class to work on the homework.
My computer is busted at the moment.
Is it actually?
Yes. It actually will not charge. The charging thing is messed up.